But back on the Patrick Netherton Show, 11:30, The Tiger. We're pleased to welcome in our favorite sports law professor. I mean, true confession, I think she's the only one I know. So, but still my favorite. She is Alicia Jessop, sports law professor at Pepperdine and a writer for The Athletic. I don't think a recent victim of food snatching by animals, I hope. Alicia, how are you?
I'm good, man. Low standards for sport law professors.
Well, I need more sports law professor friends in my life. You know, I don't have any.
Do people really need more lawyer friends? That's something people are looking for.
A sports law, maybe. Like, I don't need ambulance chasers. You know, I don't. Although, what do you chase? Do you go chase down football coaches when they're running off the field? Like, I don't know. You have somebody you chase?
These days I'm not chasing anybody because I'm an academic, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I don't blame you. By the way, you can follow her at Ruling Sports on Twitter. That's where you can find her, and of course on The Athletic as well. You definitely want to check out her work, and you just had a piece a couple of days ago about this name, image, and likeness situation. The federal bill that's now being worked on is coming to fruition, as we've had, out there where you're at in California. The bill has passed. You've got one in Florida. You got multiple ones working on in different states. Tell me what this federal bill looks like as you delve deeper into some of the people, the reps that were dealing with it. What do you feel like this bill is shaping up to look like?
Yeah, great question. So really, for the last 10 years, the NCAA has faced legal threats to its standard of amateurism, arguably begun when former UCLA men's basketball player Ed O'Bannon filed his lawsuit against the NCAA.
Yeah.
A lot of the court cases are wrapping up, and the outcomes aren't as favorable as the athlete welfare proponents desired. So we're now seeing a new string of legislation being proposed and, in California's case, enacted to challenge this model. The federal bill is proposed by Representative Mark Walker.
Yep.
He is a United States congressman from the state of North Carolina who, in the 16 years before he was elected to Congress, was a pastor in North Carolina. And he is a Republican representative, and so he ran on proposing and supporting free market economics. So for him, compensating college athletes for their name, image, and likeness is a free market economics issue.
Yeah.
But because of his pastoral background, he also sees it as a civil rights issue. So the bill he has proposed, it's going through committee in the U.S. House currently. He expects it to reach the floor in early 2020. The bill is pretty similar to the bill passed in California. So it doesn't allow college athletic departments to pay student athletes. It just allows college athletes who are able to get this type of compensation to be paid for their name, image, and likeness.
Well, I think it's important, Alicia, that people understand that this isn't there's a small sort of technicality in these bills, and that is, it's not that look, any player can go trade on his fame right now. The problem is you'll then be punished by your school and the NCAA. Basically, these just take away the punishments for it, right? That's kind of what these bills are doing.
100%. Yeah, and that's what was. So I interviewed Representative Walker for my story, and what he kept going back to is the NCAA is running this huge PR campaign. The NCAA has polled its fans, and it knows what their hot buttons are, because at the end of the day, the NCAA does not want to change its amateurism rules, even to allow athletes to profit off of their name, image, and likeness, because if you open that part of the box, someday you're going to open Pandora's box, where now we're actually talking about member institutions compensating their college athletes. So the NCAA has polled their fan base. They know that a lot of college sport fans don't believe college athletes should be paid by the member institutions. And so the NCAA has defended against bills like the California Fair Pay to Play Act and bills like the one Representative Walker is proposing by almost fear-mongering in a sense and stirring up people to believe that these bills are going to allow schools like LSU to begin paying their recruits and athletes on their teams. That's not true. So I would just really educate people to read for yourself. The text of all of these bills are available online, either on the state website or the congressman's website. But read what's going on, and they clearly state that it is not allowed under the bills for member institutions to pay student athletes.
Yeah, and you're hearing a lot, Gene Smith, AD at Ohio State, Scott Frost at Nebraska. Gene Smith talking about, this is a slippery slope, pay to play. Well, no, it's not. Scott Frost talking about how, this is going to strain our athletic budget. Well, no, it's not coming from your athletic budget. You're right. There's a lot of muddying of the water in opposition to this. And honestly, in today's political climate, this shouldn't be unusual that there's going to be a lot of just basically, for lack of a better term, fake news thrown out there to try to muddy things up. But in the end, to me, this is just allowing. I go back to I was at South Florida, I think, had a punter. You may or may not remember this story, Alicia, but
UCF.
Yeah, UCF had a punter who was making money off of a YouTube channel. And basically, his YouTube channel was just, here we are behind the scenes, and here I am playing video games, and here's my life. And he would do, funny bits and stuff, and he was making money from YouTube off that. And the NCAA came to him and said, well, you can't make money off of that because it's your own name, image, and likeness. And so you either have to do your YouTube channel or you can punt. And so he decided to keep his YouTube channel because who wouldn't? He's making good money off of it. This is basically just saying this kid can now make that money from YouTube if he's got a successful channel.
I just think the comments from athletics directors and coaches, save for Coach K, I think Coach K is on the right side of history here.
Yeah.
I just think the comments are so rich because, first of all, these are people who are making millions of dollars off of an unpaid labor force.
Yeah.
If these young men were not taking the field, Gene Smith is not commanding a several $1 million annual salary. So you have that part. Second of all, you are employees at institutions of higher education, and you are spreading false news into the media cycle. That's an ethical violation. And then beyond that, every American, so in California, we have the right of publicity. Every person in California has that right. But the NCAA, if you want to play NCAA sports, forces this group of Californian citizens to contract away that right. If we believe that capitalism is an important part of our society, why have we targeted this group of Americans as a group that is unable to capitalize off of this market economy that everybody else can?
Yeah.
So it's really frustrating to watch all of this.
Alicia Jessop, sports law professor at Pepperdine, writer for The Athletic, joining us again. You can find her at Ruling Sports on Twitter. All right, so what do you say to people, because this is the number one refrain I hear from fans and Doug Gottlieb, apparently. They're getting a scholarship. They get free food now that they passed the training table thing. They get free food. They get a scholarship. They're getting tutoring. They're getting all the best the amenities and everything, the Clemson locker room and the LSU locker room. What do you say to people who come at you with they're already getting paid, in essence, by what they're getting from the school?
It's so ignorant. If anyone understands the value of a college scholarship, it's me. I'm 10 years out of law school, and I actually just got done, before you called me, paying my student loans. Like, a big chunk of my monthly salary goes to paying student loans. So I would have loved to have a college scholarship. But the problem is we are a country built on free market economics. And what free market economics requires is the right for you to negotiate what your compensation is. And so I think if you ask most college athletes in revenue-producing sports, now this isn't every college athlete, but if you ask most college athletes in revenue-producing sports, based upon how much time you are giving this university on your athletic exercises versus how much time you're actually receiving to pursue a valuable education, here's two options. Option one is a college scholarship. Option two is a stipend or a salary. Which one are you going to pick? I think the wise student in a revenue-producing sport at a Power 5 school would be wiser to pick the salary. I'm a big proponent of education. I'm an academic at a top 50 university, and I've worked at Power 5 universities that are ranked in the top 52. I know education is transformational, and I know it's valuable. The problem is because of television schedules, college athletes in revenue-producing sports and even non-revenue-producing sports don't have time to fully immerse themselves into the educational experience because they're devoting 60-plus hours a week to athletic-related activities. So they really aren't getting the value that these media pundits claim is being given to them.
And here's the thing that I come back to, Alicia. It's the idea of fairness and equity, because we're very much a country built on the whole all men are created equal premise. And I look back at that and I say, okay, if there's a piano a piano prodigy that's at Pepperdine, right? And they're one of the greatest piano players in the entire country, and they're on a full scholarship for a music career, music scholarship at, let's just say Juilliard, wherever. And then the Metropolitan Opera comes to them and says, we'll pay you $10,000 to come perform because there are enough people that know who you are in the fine arts community. They're going to show up. Well, they're not going to lose anything for being able to go do that. And that, to me, is what it comes back to. There is a market available and money available to these kids that they are not freely allowed to go pursue. And as you said, that's a basic tenet and right of what we have as Americans. We have the right to pursue our own opportunities to try to make our lives better. And these kids just simply aren't.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is me speaking in very broad terms, but very broadly speaking, what tends to be the difference between the pianist and the revenue-producing sport athlete at a Division I Power 5 conference school? And in my opinion, a lot of this, and I hope this is not the case, this is conjecture, but one thing that stands out to me is the race of the young men in the sports that generate revenue for the NCAA Division I Power 5 conferences. They tend to be African American. And so what this system is doing is precluding this group of people who are gifted athletes, who athletics is something they could utilize to generate significant income for themselves, is precluding them from monetizing a gift that they have been given. And we have to start asking ourselves, why? Why is this the one segment of our workforce that many Americans are willing to turn a blind eye to not being compensated fairly?
It's a great question. I wish I had a good answer for you. Final thing, Alicia, what do you think ultimately happens legally? Do you think the federal bill goes through? Do you think the NCAA goes ahead and understands that they're probably going to get, are they going to sue? What do you think ends up ultimately happening, and how does this all play out?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an emerging legal battle, and the NCAA has made it very clear that they are prepared to litigate the California law, the Fair Pay to Play Act. What the NCAA has that the college athletes don't have is they have lobbyists. And Mark Walker told me for The Athletic that he was met in his D.C. office by 3 NCAA employees and 1 lobbyist who got, not the NCAA employees, but the lobbyists got a little tough with him. And so I think there might be some politicians who cower to the NCAA's lobbying efforts, maybe because they're taking money from the lobbyist or there are other pay-for-play going on in politics. Our politicians can get paid to play, but our college athletes can't. So I think there is a battle emerging on Capitol Hill and in state capitals. And I think the NCAA is also preparing to mount a legal battle, which will only continue to grow as more states pass similar laws. So we need to see what happens with the other states. And if we start getting different laws enacted in different states, if the federal law differs from what's happening at the state level, because instances like that make it more likely that if this case goes to court, the Supreme Court would grant certiorari and actually hear the case.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch, and we're glad we'll have you along to help explain it for us. Alicia Jessop at Ruling Sports. You can find her on The Athletic, or, if you just feel like going out to one of the most beautiful campuses in all the country, go out to Pepperdine. Go out to Pepperdine and go take one of her classes if you want to. I don't know. Is that allowed? Don't.
Yeah, probably not preferred. Don't follow me on Twitter.
Don't stalk her, for goodness sakes. I mean, if hey, take a trip to California and And go steal her froyo one night while she's out in the middle of the night with her headphones on. That happened last night.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
Alicia, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Patrick.
All right, Alicia Jessop. Yeah, she had her. It's Alicia Jessop, by the way, from The Athletic and sports law professor at